Benjamin Lee, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Good. You go by Ben, right?
Yes, Ben's good. Good
Fantastic.
to good to finally have a chat with you.
Yes, I've been looking forward to it. You're certainly not the youngest, but you're one of the younger runners in our book for sure. And I always like to start these interviews out by asking, you're from Australia, and we want you to tell us a little bit about that, where you're from. So where are you from, and why in the world would you decide to walk across America?
Yeah, so I am located in Melbourne, Australia. Born in Singapore, but then moved to Melbourne. Um, I guess I was in a point in my life where I'd spent a lot of my youth, traveling around the world, spending all of my savings to travel. And I was graduating university. I knew it was a point where I needed to focus on the future, think about a career, and settle down a little bit. So I wasn't able to go on all these big adventures. So I wanted to go on one last giant adventure, the biggest one I had done. Um, and America was the place that I hadn't properly explored to that point. So I thought of America. Initially, was thinking about hitchhiking across from one side to the other. Um, got talked out of that one, and then eventually somehow came up with the idea of walking. Um, and yeah, once that idea got into my head, it stuck, and I had to do it.
That's awesome. Well, Ben is one of 27 men and women who have either walked or run across America, and we have this book coming out. It's coming out in March of 2020. Ben has a chapter in there, so that's why we're doing the interview. Now I'm going to get full screen here with us, and give us a little bit about your history, Ben. You told us you were from Australia and you had just graduated from school. But how about, with the adventure of walking all the way across America, what kind of condition were you in, or had you done any other long walks or runs prior to this?
Yeah, not much at all. I was never really big into any sort of sports. Never played any team sport. I did a few hikes during my travels, but nothing more than a couple of days. So this was definitely something new, something I had never done before. Yeah, had never really walked more than I would say like 20 miles in a day. Even that would be pushing it. So yeah, this was definitely something new.
Well, and some of us, like me, for example, some of us were supported. I had a support crew, and you did not. Is that correct? You went solo with the stroller for the most part?
Yeah. Initially, I did have someone with me. Just a person from a travel forum, and we both connected and decided to do this thing together. I didn't really want to do it solo. I knew it would be extremely difficult, so I just wanted to have someone alongside me to share in the joys and the sadness and everything that goes along with it. And after the first month, she decided she had had enough, and she left and left me alone in the middle of Utah. And then from that point on, it was either quit or continue on solo.
Well, and that's understandable. As you know, having gone through it, we can all understand why it would not be for them. But when I meant solo, I guess what I
Yeah,
meant
I
is
mean, it was.
you did not have a support crew. Even when you had the partner walking with you, you guys were pushing strollers, correct? You did not have a support crew.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So we were pushing strollers, all the food, water equipment, everything was just with us.
Well, you got a lot of highlights, a lot of really awesome things that you relate in the chapter. But the one that obviously stands out to me and anybody that knows the story, it's just heart wrenching, is you were fortunate enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Joe Bell. And I won't tell the story since I never met him. I was following Joe Bell and it was devastating. But I'll let you tell how you met Joe, why he was going across country, and just kind of what happened.
Yeah. So um, Joe Bell, he was walking across the country to raise awareness about the effects of bullying. His son Jaden, who was very young at the time, he came out as gay and he was bullied in school in church around his hometown, bullied really badly, and he ended up taking his own life. So Joe, completely devastated, he decided to share Jaden's message, walk across the country, talk about the effects bullying can have on people, and hope that some change could happen. So yeah, that's why Joe was walking. And for me, I had been alone at this point for about a month. I was entering Colorado, and as I was passing through these small towns and telling people what I was doing, people would say, "Oh, there was a guy about a week ago that passed through here, and he's doing the same thing." So as soon as I started hearing that from multiple people, I got a bit excited, and I had to find this guy. I was kind of over being alone, and it was good. I was hoping to find someone else to walk with me for a little bit. So I spent a lot of time just on Google trying to find out who this person was. No one had his name, so I was just searching Google, searching Facebook, and eventually I found Joe. And he was about a week ahead of me in Steamboat Springs, so I contacted him. We spoke on the phone. He said he was going to be in Steamboat for a few days just to do some talks at the school. And I said, I'll be there in 2 days. And I just walked and walked and walked, and I got there in a couple of days. And yeah, we met up. Immediately we had lunch, and I felt we clicked really well. We got along really well. Meeting someone who was doing the same thing that I was doing, obviously we had a lot of common, a lot of similar stories and experiences, and yeah, we just clicked. And I made the suggestion that we walk together, and yeah, we decided to walk over the Rocky Mountains together. So that went for 3 weeks altogether.
You're very fortunate. And if you don't mind, you walked with him. You were fortunate enough to walk with Joe for 3 weeks and learn his story. And go ahead and finish the story out, how you found out what happened and exactly what did happen to Joe.
Yeah, so during our first meeting, I mean, previously I had already done some research, so I kind of knew his story and why he was doing what he was doing. But yeah, during the whole 3 weeks, his son would always come up, and he would always talk about his family, and you could just tell how much he missed him and how much he loved him. And it was heartbreaking many times during the walk. He would just break down in tears, and sometimes he would see a child that would remind him of Jaden. Often, because he would do news articles, people would drive up to us on the highway, and they would often have previous similar experiences of either being bullied or suicide, and yeah, they were always really emotional experiences. So I just feel really honored that I could actually just be a part of something as important as what Joe was doing.
So you got to walk with him for 3 weeks, and then you guys parted ways. I guess you needed to keep going, and he was doing some media. But how long was it after that you heard the bad news?
Yeah, so it was in October. At that point, I think I had probably continued on for about 2 months after we had gone our separate ways. And yeah, I was taking a few days off to take a train up to Chicago just to relax for a bit, and open up my phone onto Facebook and just message after message of what happened to Joe. I was in shock, and then I just spent the 1 hour train ride up to Chicago in tears, and it was devastating.
Well, for those who don't know, Joe unfortunately got hit by a truck. I think as the story went, the truck driver fell asleep. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
hit Joe as he was walking along the road and killed him instantly. And I don't know. Yeah, I remember following Joe, and when I saw that, I was in tears. And I can say kudos to you, because I mean I'm sure that there were some thoughts there about ending your trip, but you didn't do that. You continued on and finished your trip.
Yeah, I mean, I had to at that point. Not only just for myself, but also I decided, I wanted to finish this for Joe. Joe wanted to get to that end, so I had to get to that end as well for him. Um, but yeah, it was difficult. I mean, throughout the whole trip, obviously, all of us know that there is a chance that something could happen. A driver's not paying attention, falls asleep, and through a lot of different sections of road, obviously we're walking very close to the vehicle. Um, but after that point, it just that sense of danger was extremely high. Um, every time I would get a bit too close to the road because I had to, my my fear levels were just increasing, and there were a few points where I felt close to quitting just because you know that danger and then that fear level was just up to a point where um up to my limit,
Yep.
almost up to my limit.
Well, just one more
And
thing
then
about,
everyone back home as well. Sorry, yeah, everyone back home as well was telling me that you know you need to be careful, do this, do that, and those sort of words as well were just constantly in my head, um, making me feel worse as well.
we'll get back to your story in a minute, but just to kind of put a plug in, Joe's family and some other people are making a movie, correct, about Joe's life and why he was walking in Jaden. And you were fortunate enough to come back to the States to meet with his wife. And what's the name of that
Yeah,
movie?
so the movie is called Good Joe Bell. They started filming last year. Filming has finished, and they're currently in the process of editing and finalizing the movie, and hopefully it comes out mid next year. Um, but yeah, I was lucky enough to be invited to fly over and visit the set, spend some time with Joe's family, which was amazing. Um, and yeah, just getting to experience a movie set, and we met up with Mark Wahlberg and a few of the directors and producers, and yeah, the whole experience was incredible.
Uh, I'll back to your trip. You let us know where you started from and where you finished.
Yeah, so we started, me and the Canadian lady, we started in San Francisco, and I finished in Delaware Bay.
And
So
give us an idea of how many miles you walked today. Like low miles, high miles, and then what you say your average miles was.
miles. I work in kilometers over here.
You can give us
I,
kilometers.
yeah, so I guess we started off just short days, 5, 10 miles, 15, um, and then as our fitness increased, we would increase it. So I think towards the end, the longest I did, it was about a 14-hour day, which would be about 80 kilometers for me, which I'm guessing is about 45 miles.
Yep.
I think that's roughly it. But yeah, the total trip was about 3,500 miles and took 6.5 months.
Well, this question might be silly because I have a feeling the answer is probably going to be the same for both. But if you had to pick a high point and a low point of your trip, what would you say those 2 points would be?
Yeah, I think the high point for sure was all of the amazing people that I met along the way. The amount of generosity that I received throughout the whole trip was just mind blowing. Like people would let me into their homes. People would help with my carts. People would just stop along the road, hand me $20, hand me a bottle of water, drive off. And yeah, constantly people amazed me. And then obviously the most important person that I met was Joe. So definitely the people that I met was the highlight of the entire trip. Um, and yeah, the low light was definitely Joe passing away as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be the lowest point.
I know you mentioned in your chapters, and quite a few of the walkers and runners mentioned in their chapters, that the challenge of going across America on foot, certainly it is a physical challenge, but it's by far more a mental challenge. And that comes across in your chapter as well. For people that don't know what we're talking about, just briefly, how would you explain that? Why would it be more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge?
Yeah, I mean, physically, it's not too hard, at least in my experience. Especially when you do have a long time frame that I had, so you can just build up your stamina, your levels of the distance that you cover, so that you're not in a rush to continue pushing too far. So that will just build up over time. But yeah, the mental thing, that's something that I hadn't really prepared for. Being alone 24 hours a day for, for 5 6 months straight, that's something that no one can prepare for, really. Um and and yeah, getting used to your own company over that stretch of period. um and then all the difficult aspects that you go through, whether it is health, whether it is, whatever it is that's happening. Just that pressure and the stress and the worry, and all those things just play on your mind. Um, yeah, for me, I guess one of the toughest parts was just after um, the Canadian lady left, and then having to get into that mind frame to continue on solo. That was one of the most difficult mental parts for me. Um, I thought that I would just need time just to get into that right mind frame. I took a few days off, and I thought I'd just, relax and take time off of the walk. And that time off was probably the worst thing I could have done. Um, it just, it gave me with way too much time, and that time just ended up playing games with my head. I would start getting into really negative places. I would start overthinking things. And yeah, those negative places would just lead to really negative thoughts. Um, I guess close to depression, and just lots of thoughts of quitting, going home. Um, I would just break down in tears without any reason why. It's not something that's really ever happened in my life before. And I would just sit there. I would just be watching a movie, and then I just start crying, and I couldn't stop. Yeah, the whole mental game was definitely the hardest part for me.
I appreciate you sharing that. I had the same experiences, and I think it's really important that people realize that there's a good chance they're going to go through that, because it definitely was the toughest part. So, you, like many of us, we're back to the screen now so people can see the book Running Across America, which will be available on Amazon in March. But I think we probably, most, if not all of us, had some hesitations. We certainly had family members and friends saying, "What the hell are you doing? Why would you do this?" So I'm sure there's going to be some people either watching this video or reading the book who are thinking maybe they want to walk or run across America, but they're not sure. What would you say to anybody who has that dream, but they're not sure whether they want to actually do it?
Just do it. What do you have to lose, really? Um, yeah, I mean, if I listen to the people who I spoke to, a lot of people others told me, you're crazy. Why would you do such a thing? It's too dangerous. Um, and if I had listened to them, I wouldn't have done what I did. I wouldn't have met the incredible people I met. I wouldn't have had the amazing experiences. Yeah, you just need to, if you have a dream, you need to go for it. Push yourself to where you want to be, and don't let others' opinions of what you can do control what you do. Um,
Awesome.
you only have one life, so you got to do what you can to live the best life that you can.
Well, I absolutely loved your chapter. I certainly hope we meet. I know I haven't been to your part of the world yet, but I plan on going. And when I do, I will look you up. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
certainly, if you get to America again, which you probably will, if you get anywhere near Cincinnati, or if all of us do get together for like a reunion or something, I so look forward to meeting you.
Oh yeah, we should all at some point, all 27, 29 of us get together, and that'll be some sort of some dinner.
Yep. Hey, thanks so much for putting the chapter in the book, and thanks for the interview. I look forward to meeting you.
Thank you very much.